And then at what age did you begin your journey into Kathak dancing?
At the age of 14.
Age of 14. Can you give us, for those of us who don't know, can you give us some background on what Kathak dance exactly is? When did it start? And how did it take the more modern form that it is
Today?
in now?
So
And its origin too.
its origin is, it started as storytelling. So when we look about 2000 years ago, so we're looking at Aryan and Dravidian civilizations. So the concept of story. So the Brahmins who were educated in Sanskrit verse and shlokas and everything, and the people on the street were not, or the people in the communities were not. So what they would do, in the temples there would be dancers who would be trained in the scriptures, and they would start moving as a community from one village to another, and they would be dancing out all the stories like Ramayana, Mahabharata, and then also because there's so many gods in the Hindu mythology, it's like Greek mythology. There's so much of knowledge and so much of guidance and mentoring happening in it. So that's how they were educating from village to village, community to community, people in the banks of the river, people all around this area.
So it was started by religious
Storytelling.
people, and this was their way of promoting their religion and their beliefs.
Yes. And because it was an illiterate society, पढ़े लिखे नहीं थे ना, so the only way was, interesting enough, the only way they were being educated was through the performing arts. So it was through singing, through the dance, through the dancing out of the stories. So if I, like Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Maheshwara, this is Guru Brahma is the ultimate God who has all the knowledge. Guru Vishnu is the one who balances and holds on to maintaining. So they had all these, so that was the way they were educating people about maintaining balance, harmony, so they would pray to their gods like that. It was always through the music and dance. And the Brahmins, the people that used to go to the temples, there were also Devdasis in the 2nd century. And they were married off to the temples. So there's also the Bharatnatyam dancer of the south part of this area, and there's the north, which were the courtesans that came in the time of the Mughals. But again, they were not courtesans as courtesans. They were actually very educated women. So we have, this them being versed in poetry and Urdu and like a finishing school, music, dance, shairi. And here you had the Devdasi that was mastered the scriptures, and she was revered as a goddess. So if she ever went to a house to perform or something like that, they would look upon her as a goddess, even though she was never married otherwise. She was just married off to the temple, and she would earn her income from it. So she actually at another level was a very empowered woman. So then what happened, because the women could not go out on the streets, then the men used to play the female characters. औरतें नहीं नाचती थी रोडों पे कोई, all males. So they would adorn the character of a woman. So if they're showing Radha and they're showing Krishna, these are the stories, the divine love pair. So they would also depict Radha. They would dress up like a female, and they would, show or if they were showing Sita, they would dress up like Sita. And they would look at, sometimes when I look at some of the characters we do now, it's amazing how a man can adorn a female's character much better than a woman can.
Oh, really?
That was quite amazing. I saw that so much in India. So going back to the history, so it just started growing like that and started bifurcating. So we have to look at, before it taking the shape of what Kathak is today, every classical dance has a root of folk dancing. And folk dancing means community, means storytelling. So the Ras Leela, again, these are very technical words, but Ras Leela is where Ras is like the rasa and telling the whole mythological story. They call it Ras Leela. And it's based around Krishna and Radha. So every there are 8 classical dance forms of India, and in that time as they were developing. So the north started changing. Kathak is the only classical dance form of northern India.
Acha.
Baki jitne baki Odissi dance is East Coast, then you have South, then you have all Karnataka, all that belt has like 6 Satriya again is more towards the east. So you have, this is the only of the north, and you have East Coast, then you have the south. So it's the only form because of the Mughal invention. Then all the Mughal aspects like Hazrat Amir Khusro in 14th century, the tabla was created from the mridangam. So how it started becoming different, the sounds changed. The chatra veena that was tuned by water. Suddenly Hazrat Amir Khusro brought in the keys. ये जो आपको guitar मिलता ना, this was created by Hazrat Amir Khusro.
Oh, really?
So the keys of the sitar. So he said, कि भाई, if we go somewhere in the village and there's no water, then how do we tune our instrument? Being also a student of Nizamuddin Aulia, Hazrat Nizamuddin, who was a Kalandar, who was a spiritual Aulia, he was also a student of him, and he also was a musicologist, and he was a philosopher. And so he sat down and thought, he started playing around with how we could tune the string with not sitar, water, but through the keys. So the sitar came about. And then uske baad se we started getting all the concept of the key. With the guitar, with the cello, with the violin. So you see how it's... So that also became a very strong part of Kathak. So sitar, tabla, gaiki, because of the Urdu, Central Asian, from Central Asia, the kings came in. They adorned, they also, उन्होंने अपनाया था कि हम हिंदुस्तान का जो culture है वो अपनाते हैं. So they had their Central Asian dancers, they had all the dancers, the Kathak dancers, the storytellers now. They started traveling into Delhi, into Agra, into Lahore, because this was where all the culture was. This was a Garh. This was like a...
the Mecca for...
Exactly, for all of them. And they would come here. So then lots of postures that were maybe like something like this, right? With Krishna would become something like this, which is the Begum smile, which was the Mughal Begum.
Okay.
Or everything, something like this, that was the shield and the sword, changed into hands.
Okay.
So things, you know how they started changing, evolving. They thought the kings are not interested in...
So the religious storytelling became more of the storytelling
technique.
Remained, but more of also entertainment and femininity.
Technique. It developed a technique.
Yeah.
It developed a very clear technique.
So this all happened maybe about 500-600 years ago.
It happened.
Before that, it was just one
sort of
very storytelling and in a very specific way, and that was it.
It started evolving. Then the footwork. If you look at Arabic dance, you know the way they do the footwork and they do the clapping? That came into Kathak because the Central Asian dance, then the Iranian dance, the Persian dances. So everything was happening in the court. So dance started taking, and then Maulana Room. If you look at Kathak, we take so many spins. Look at any other classical dance of South Asia. Spins nahi hai itne. Kathak's one, because again we have the influence of Turkey. Because you know the Mughal Empire, the Muslim Empire, Spain tak to fatah kiya. So if they conquered up to Spain,
must have gone through
can you
Turkey,
see the influence of our dance in flamenco?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now when you start looking at it, you see that the influence has come from Kathak. The footwork, the way the costume is slightly more, and the way they hold their bodies, we hold the same in Kathak.
Yes.
It's all flamenco.
So in many ways, maybe at the time when the Mughals did come and conquer, what Kathak was developing into was sort of like a fusion.
Yes.
Because it was coming from all over, and different people were bringing in their different elements.
Absolutely.
And something new was being made.
Bilkul.